uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports.
What up, it's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and right now you tuned into World Combat Sports. Good morning once again. You tuned in to World Combat Sports. Salute to all my day one supporters and those who tune into the channel. You know what it is. It's fight week, of course. We have, Tyson Fury defending his WBC heavyweight crown against the one and only longtime challenger, contender, Dillian White. But that's just not what this live is about, shouty. It's not what it's about. Looking at the thumbnail, you know what I'm saying? I have to be the one to present these numbers because some may think it's good, some may think it's bad. You know what I'm saying? But from what I'm hearing and what I'm reading, the numbers came in around 240,000 PPV buys. That would be far below the bar. You know what I'm saying? Not to drop any bars, but that'd be far below the bars of, what he did with Mikey Garcia. You know what I'm saying? Danny Garcia. Or even DSG. This was a fight for the unification. And a lot of things can be factored into potentially why the numbers are where they are. Ugas, per se. You know what I'm saying? It could be many variables, man. A lot of people really didn't believe that Ugas may be able to put Errol Spence's name as a notch on his breastplate as a win. They probably didn't think that. They probably just felt that, hey, this is a fight that Errol Spence supposed to win. We are expecting him to win, and we'll just see how it plays out. I think that was more so the mindset of a lot of boxing fans who may have either decided to purchase the fight or ultimately decided against it. You know what I'm saying? So in this case, for a unification fight, I don't see this as disappointing. You know what I'm saying? 240,000. I don't see it as disappointing, to be honest. It is what it is. You're gonna have numbers like this where you're gonna have so many people just precipitating all sorts of other avenues as to why this is sitting at 240. They're gonna say people was cracking it. They wasn't really streaming. They didn't purchase the fight. The numbers ain't accurate, of course. Since the numbers ain't breaching 300,000 plus, then it's gonna come down to people voices out here saying, well, those numbers ain't accurate. But any other time, if it's 300 plus, the numbers are accurate. But back to the topic. Ugas did not speak English, and whenever you have that case, unless it's a Mexican or Hispanic, whatever you want to call it, that's just bad. You know what I'm saying? It's just a monster, so to speak. They don't really have to speak English, but they're gonna sell fight. In Udina's Ugas case, he had 4 losses. 3 of those were split decisions, and one was a UD against Amir Mun. And that has all since passed. He just picked up his 5th defeat via stoppage, the first time that a fighter has been able to stop Udina's Ugas. Now, with these numbers, though, Spence numbers, I'm going to show you the receipts of what they're saying his gait looked like. So let me first bring up this source, which was Dan Rafael. In my British accent, Dan Rafael. Per sources involved in the Spence Ugas, did about 240,000 PPV buys domestically, inclusive of linear, satellite, and streaming. So before people start, spinning a toilet roll and pushing narratives, they're saying inclusive of linear, satellite, and streaming. So that's basically tying up everything. It's basically tying up every avenue. Now, like I always tell people, I don't really get in these damn numbers. I can care less. But I only give a damn to speak on it when it comes to a fighter being exalted more than what they are. Now we get to understand that both Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford will both complement each other. No fighter, in my opinion, is higher than the other when it comes to these numbers, because 240,000 is not something that's incredible that comes even close to scratching the surface with the top 10 PPV buys. It doesn't even scratch it doesn't even sniff it, dog. It's not even within a visual. But anyway, let me go to my second receipt. This right here is another source where we can all read together. The gate was about $5 million for Spence Ugas. Errol Spence Jr. has established himself as one of the top draws in boxing. He sells tickets and does solid. He sells tickets and does solid PPV numbers, and has for the past few years. Now, what he just mentioned is true. Errol Spence is doing solid PPV numbers. Solid PPV numbers. But when you're talking about placing them over the top, it's not there yet. And it's quite difficult to do than what was going on back then. Real talk. It's very difficult to do. Canelo sits up the top, a little bit. But his biggest fight was, of course, with Floyd Mayweather. But as his sole proprietor, as a superstar in the sport, where is he sitting amongst the top 10 with the Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson's, the Floyd Mayweathers? You know what I'm saying? It's difficult to even come close to those numbers. But in this era, if you get 400,000, 500,000, you're doing very, very well. Very well. Plus 400, 500,000 plus, it's considered a success. Now, this right here, 240 in Texas Stadium, I just look at it like it's solid numbers. And from the look at the gate was absolutely, a success. It's packed up in there. The crowd was lit, what I'm saying, on tilt. And they came to support their hometown fighter. Real talk. But the PPV numbers is what everybody rant and rave about. I'm saying I'm not going to step on them. I mean, they're solid. Just like Raphael said, always look at language. They're solid numbers, people. It's nothing to sit up here and get braggadocious about. They're solid numbers. Nor am I going to excoriate them as if I'm just going to, based off what my audio has been telling me about what other voices have been saying. When you're bringing in 240 and, your name is up here supposed to be the next biggest star. In my opinion, a name like Ugas, it's not a failure. You know what I'm saying? Ugas, he wasn't a name that people was placing on a hierarchy. You know, some of the greats in boxing. He just wasn't. He was able to have some recovery, win some bouts with some big names, and then people turned the corner a little bit on Ugas when they found out he was stepping in there with Spence. So I don't find the numbers as being a failure all because people bloviate Spence's name, what he's supposed to do. I just look at it like it's pretty much what I gathered. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be much more of an elevated um PPV set when it comes, if it comes to Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. That's what it is. They're gonna do crazy numbers, and we really don't know when that fight is gonna happen, where it's gonna happen, but it's definitely going to put these numbers to shame, and it's just going to convince everyone that two fighters complementing each other can do grand numbers, can do very grand numbers. And that's what we're going to see between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. when they come together, you know what I'm saying, to bridge that gap and touch gloves in the ring. This is one of those fights where you just hope everything is perfect. If they're able to get through the fight and answer the first bell, it's going to be the opening bell. It's going to be great numbers, man. I don't see Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford doing anything less than 500,000. Anything less. And I'm really wasting my time talking about this because no one truly knows. But I just see that fight being the magnitude that it is, the anticipation, the delay. You know what I'm saying? The anxiety that has been going on with conversations, the communications, the fragmentation of people communicating with one another on here, talking points, all the years and years and years we put into this at the YTC. It's going to do no less than 500,000. It's just too many people out there that want to see these two black fighters. There's both on the pound for pound list, both in the same division, y'all. The same division. One is a 3-time world champion, and the other is a multi-division world champion. When they finally step into the ring, these numbers that you're seeing right here, the 240,000, the 5 million gate, it's not even going to come close, man. It's not even going to come close. So I like it. Let me get some of these chats, man. Mr. Pat's on deck. Salute to you. He said, salute WCS. I saw someone say that Rick Glaser did an interview with someone and said the fight did less than 200K, but I'm not sure about that. Hope these PPV numbers sober up Spence Brigade because they still haven't calmed down since Saturday. Andrew coming here with the ruler in hand and the chalkboard. Listen, class. I know we just coming back from a holiday, but I hope a lot of you sober up because I heard you out there. You think I didn't? I heard you. The Spence Brigade was out there talking. All I'm saying in trying to be as neutral as possible, the 240,000 isn't a failure, but it doesn't place him in a place of supremacy, so to speak, like they've been talking, Andrew. You know what I'm saying? Like, I totally get and understand what you're saying. Like, it doesn't place him in that supremacy when you're talking Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. Look, the narrative is always going to be the same. Hearing these numbers, they're going to say, well, it's still good for him being in there with Ugas. It shows that his star power, he can still build that many numbers, and Ugas is not a star at all. He's a no name. So pretty much everybody came there to see Errol Spence. Well, if that's the narrative you're going to push, then guess what? The numbers should be higher. It's just like going over to Tijuana to build up your record to 10, 15, and 0, and then you start fighting in the States. It doesn't matter how many fights you have in Texas. Your people have to continue to come see you, and the numbers have to continue to increase, increase, increase. Not just you, a hometown dude they respect, you're a superstar over there in Texas. I mean, from what it's supposed to be more than one superstar, but they have to continue to build up and support you. They have to continue to grow and do it even bigger. And 240,000 isn't a failure. It's okay. Just like, I'm gonna tell you, I'm looking at Dan Raphael and he said it's solid numbers. Hope these PPV numbers sober up the Spence brigades because they still haven't calmed down since Saturday. I just had to read that. I just had to read that over again. But what is this going to do for? What is this going to do for the upcoming fight with Terrence Crawford? Because I do know that these number talks are going to come back up, and unfortunately, if this is what they're basing everything off of, because I don't want to hear shit about Mike and Danny, and I don't want to hear shit about Sean Porter. What I really want to hear about is that Crawford Spence are going to complement each other, make the fight fair for both sides, and the YTC don't come in here acting like, Errol Spence is this grand poobah, this mega star, and that's not the case. Both him and Crawford together, because you know how they always talk about how fighters need each other. Crawford and Spence together can do grand numbers. And let's just say those numbers come back 500,000. It's not going to be from one specific fighter. It's going to be from both fighters. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be from both fighters. It's not going to just be from, oh, well, Errol Spence did those numbers. Why? Let me take you back on the road of goddamn elevator music. Hit it. They start talking about, well, when he fought Mikey Garcia, and when he fought Sean Porter, when he fought Danny Garcia, and I tell you this right here, pass the offering plate around because I need some donations of your time. No, we don't want to hear that shit. We don't want to hear nothing about those other 3 PPVs that people are still acting like they're mesmerized about. This is 240, and don't let me get Rick Glace on the phone. Don't let me get Rick Glace on the phone. You know I will. Don't let me get Rick Glace on the phone, bro. I don't want to bother the man this early. You know what I'm saying? But I can get him on the phone and talk these numbers because, he's an insider. He knows the numbers. If he's saying they did 200 or below, well, don't get on here and create thumbnails and blow it up and tell me, oh, Rick Glace is just hating. Hating on who? Just face the fact. It's tough for these fighters at this day and time to do numbers like Floyd Mayweather used to do. Floyd Mayweather just didn't do it with one fighter. He did it with several fighters. So he holds the title. He holds the title in that perspective that Floyd Mayweather was able to do this with multiple names. Errol Spence Jr. did his highest numbers with Mikey Garcia. You're talking about Mikey Garcia that's a 4-weight champion, bro. You can't because he was stepping up 2 divisions. 4-weight champion. A 4-weight champion. At the end of the day, these fighters sometimes have a dance partner that help them. They have a dance partner. Spence didn't have a dance partner this time that was almost equal to his superstardom in this case. So the numbers coming back around low 240s, mid 240s, whatever. It is what it is, man. We just got to be patient enough and wait for this ball to drop and open the bell, touch gloves, and let's go. Let's see what the numbers are like once we finish out what the results of the fight's going to be. That's all we can say about it. Don't get mad. Just be patient. I'm not downgrading EJ. He does consistent, solid numbers. No one's. I didn't even downgrade anything. I'm just saying, let's not act like 240,000 PPVs is something incredible, especially when it was built up in your backyard. And, not to forget, I did throw up there. I did put up there. Um, what the gate brought in. I gave both sides of the receipts of what the gate brought in. This is not a failure. This is not, bro. I'm not gonna sit up here and say that. I just want y'all to be patient and just read what these insiders, so to speak, are putting out here. Don't worry about what WCS is doing. I'm providing you screenshots of what the insiders put out here. Okay? That's all I'm doing. That is all I'm doing. Hold on. Let me see can Rick get on the phone. Hold on for a second, y'all. He might be busy right now, but definitely, I want to get his take on these numbers. What his thought process. I don't care if anybody don't. I don't care those of you that don't like the dude. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I wanted to hear from the insider himself. One of the insiders has been around the game for quite some time. I just wanted to hear his take on the numbers. That's it. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I keep on reiterating and speaking the same language, keeping the same energy that I don't believe 240,000 is a failure. I do believe it's a wake up call for the voices that sit up here and speak highly of Errol Spence Jr. being this super PPV star, when indeed he does put butts in the seats in Texas. He put butts in the seats in Texas. That's his hometown. That's what it is. He put butts in the seats in Texas. But their claim to fame and their screaming mantra is he does more numbers than Terrence Crawford. It's just all the time, every time. And look, that isn't wrong. But when you're looking at these 240,000, imagine what numbers he's gonna do with Terrence Crawford. He's gonna double this shit. He's gonna double these numbers. Both of these fighters together are gonna complement their fan base, their notoriety, and their attendance when it comes to them, locking up in the ring. When this fight becomes signed and they answer the opening bell, they're both going to complement each other. And then not only that, we're going to put this narrative to bed about Terrence Crawford not being a ticket seller just because of the fights he's been in at in his career or whatever. He wasn't able to go in Omaha. Omaha is not a boxing footprint like that where you can have a Jerry Jones. It's not even the size like that. So shout out to Texas for having all the resources to exacerbate this as much as possible. When it comes down to it, Terrence is not going to ask for him to fight Errol Spence in Omaha, Nebraska. This is going to be somewhere, in Vegas or something. You know what I'm saying? Or they want to come down here to the A. But either way it goes, when Jerry Jones You know what I'm saying? The triple OG, when Jerry Jones is supporting and you're able to fight in that stadium, that's a big fucking deal. That's a big deal. But when it comes time for him to face Crawford, man, those numbers are gonna double. Remember, I told you. Alexander on deck. What's good? These numbers took some time to come out. What's up? Get the smoke on deck. What it do? I was speaking for myself. Lance Pug, my numbers, bro. Salute my brother at World Combat Sports. We are talking about the who's who of pinch and salt. If you're talking about the numbers of pinch and salt or the insiders, it's always going to be that way, Smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, when people are not really supporting these fighters, on here on YouTube, it probably provide more support about a fighter's numbers. But then again, I know certain individuals on here for a fact that don't purchase the fight. They don't purchase the fight. They get all the super chats in the world, but they don't buy the fight. They don't buy the fight, y'all. Come on, man. So everything when it comes to boxing, it's gonna have its pluses and minuses, pros and cons. That's just the way it is in this day and time with social media and all these apps and all these, underground type of access that you cannot pay the full price for a fight. So the numbers are going to be distorted. But in this particular case, what is Lance Pugmine, where is Dan Raphael, what is Mike Coppinger, it don't matter. Rick Glacy even put it out there too. It's like 200,000 or below. I have my resources I speak to also. And then if certain people on here in this YouTube shit can put videos out and they're doing the exact same thing I do. Don't act like I'm doing something different because I don't talk numbers on here. But if they can do the exact same thing I'm doing, and this is what is out. TBV even had a video that was out with 240. So I don't care who released the news. It's the fact that the numbers are out. It still justifies 60-40 against Bud. Omaha has the worst nachos I've ever experienced. The worst nachos. See, if EJ's numbers double, then Bud's numbers quintuple. I'm saying the numbers that right here, because these not just EJ's numbers. You know what I'm saying? We can no way, no how sit up here and act like we're totally delusional that he didn't have a dance partner. In boxing, these fighters go in here and they ain't shadow boxing. You know what I'm saying? This is not a virtual setting. This is a real-time setting. You have to provide Ugas his credit and just due for bringing in that momentum off Manny Pacquiao to step in there with Errol Spence. Let's not act like he was not a being, a body in the ring, and he also held the WBA world title. Let's not act like it was 100% Spence and 0 for Ugas. It's people that came to support the Cuban. Come on, we can't be naive and sit up here and act like it was just Errol Spence. What is this Errol Spence number? There's no such thing as, look, just because he's the A side doesn't mean everybody that's sitting in the stands came to see the A side. We have to be better than that. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard instead of getting on here saying, well, it's Errol Spence numbers. What Errol Spence numbers? It's Errol Spence and Ugas, just like it was Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko. People was ranting and raving about Wembley Stadium, but knowing damn well Joshua was not no world global star. Vladimir had much more Wall Street to his name than Anthony Joshua, but together they did great numbers when it came to Wembley. It takes two to dance, man. One may have more moves than the other, but it takes two to dance, bro. And in this case, Spence had more moves than Ugas, but come on, you can't just say 240,000. Spence, 0 to dang Ugas. Come on, bro. Man, y'all better than that. Porter helped Bud numbers more than Ugas helped. Porter helped Bud numbers more than Ugas helped EJ. I can agree with that because he's Sean Porter. Once again, Sean Porter had much more coming into this foray than Ugas Ugas, okay? Sean Porter was a world champion before he was defeated by Kell Brook. We know that. Sean Porter had much more of a price tag to his brand than Ugas Ugas. We knew that. He was coming off a win with Danny Garcia. You know, he won the WBC belt, and you know, he finally got the shot with Errol Spence Jr., and we all know the outcome. But we don't know Sean Porter, Errol Spence. We cannot dichotomize and just sit up here and weigh heavy on, okay, Errol Spence had 3/4 of the pie. We can't say that. Because when you look at it, coming into the fight, Sean Porter had more belts than Errol Spence in the welterweight division at that time. Errol Spence was only the IBF champion before he stepped in there to unify against Sean Porter. Sean Porter had already reigned as the IBF titleist. Now he was a WBC champion. So how can we say the numbers were Spence, Errol, whatever? And what does this talk about? Sean Porter bringing something to Errol Spence. What was he bringing? The fight was in California. What was he bringing? Both of them brought it to the table. What was he bringing? That shit wasn't in Texas. What did he bring? Now, when you want to talk about fights that was in Texas, the Garcias, then okay. The Ugas, okay. We can talk about him being a hometown guy. But also you have to factor in, Smoke, that 240,000 in your backyard is okay. It's solid numbers. It's okay. It ain't nothing above okay. It's solid. Just like they said, it's solid numbers, bro. Porter helped Bud numbers more than Ugas helped EJ. And you know how I just skipped over that because it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Because where did they fight once again? I don't know if a lot of y'all just know how I just skipped over that and I talked about, you know, Porter and Errol Spence numbers instead of Porter and Bud number because it's irrelevant. What these numbers? What is the numbers? Sean Porter didn't have a belt, fighting Bud Crawford, but he had a belt fighting Errol Spence. But yet people want to say that all those fights, right? The Mikey Garcia and the Sean Porter fight, his opponents brought, that was strictly Errol Spence numbers. That wasn't strictly Errol Spence numbers. Stop playing yourself. Stop playing yourself like that. Mikey Garcia has leaps and bounds over Errol Spence when it comes to careers. A 4-weight champion. He's been unified already, bro. Come on. Come on, y'all. Y'all just excluding unification? Terrence Bud Crawford's been unified, undisputed already. Mikey Garcia brought the Mexican. You say, well, why didn't he fight, in his home footprint? And then y'all say, oh, Errol Spence did this. Are y'all becoming somewhat intoxicated off just the biasness that you're smoking out that pipe, right? When it boils down to Texas and all the Mexican Hispanic boxing fans in Texas, Errol Spence is not any way, shape, or form of Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson say his dad is Puerto Rican, right? Right? So when it comes to Errol Spence being in Texas and he fight Mikey Garcia, is Mikey not bringing some Mexican fans? I know they are because I heard it on here. I heard people talking about it. Oh, Mikey bringing the Mexican fans. This, that. But when you hear the YouTube voices echo the same shit, they always say, "Well, Errol Spence, what was his first fight? Who was his first fight? Who can we say? Who was the first fight over there? Mikey Garcia, right? Then he left, went over to the West Coast, fight Sean Porter, came back, fought Danny Garcia. All three of those fights doing over 300,000. So you know how critical I am, right? I did not get on here. It did 200. It did the low 200s in his backyard again. So he's not progressing from Mikey Garcia. He's not progressing. So y'all can't say it's Errol Spence numbers if he's not progressing to 400, 425, 4.5 since Mikey Garcia. He has not. He has not, bro. That split, I never even mentioned a split. It's irrelevant to me. I'll use your word, Smoke. It's irrelevant. It's odious. It's calumny. It makes no point for me to talk about 60-40, 60-40. That's not even the preface of this topic. The preface is a 240,000. We're talking about the results from this fight. I could care less about whatever numbers they want to put up percentage-wise. All I'm saying is from his Mikey Garcia, because everybody was talking about the Mikey Garcia, what was the numbers? What was the numbers for Mikey Garcia? Like 375, right? Has he progressed? Has he advanced those numbers since Mikey Garcia? I don't know. I might be wrong. Has he advanced the numbers? 4-weight champion, Mexican. Did he grow upon those numbers when he fought Sean Porter? If he didn't elevate those numbers past the Mikey Garcia fight, then what are y'all saying? Oh, he's consistent. He's freaking consistent. I get it. 39K is in Texas, 240K is PPV. $240K sucks, man. I meant it's good for an EJ level, I guess. If UFC pulled a mill, why aren't these guys doing it? Because in the UFC, it has a president, right? Only boxing sit up here and put guys out there as if they're the only ones on the card. The UFC will have 2 or 3 championship fights on the card, and it do crazy numbers. And people are not sitting up here. Well, the main event, Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman, the main event, John Jones, Stipe Miocic, even though it hadn't happened, they collectively look at the whole card and they keep it moving. I never said Mexican was Cubans. I was talking about the 3 fights. I'm speaking about, the fights with the main fight with Danny Garcia. Every time I hear that number come up from him fighting Mikey Garcia, what it is, it's Errol Spence numbers. It's not. It's Mikey Garcia's numbers too. No matter what you talking about with him moving up for the first time, Mikey Garcia has put Spence in a place to have his highest numbers. Sean Porter couldn't do it because they fought somewhere else, and Danny Garcia didn't do it. But he still did over 300K, allegedly. And now, Yordenis Ugas, even though he speaks Espanol, it doesn't mean anything because at the end of the day, he's not as popular of notoriety than Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia. That's just easy cognizant mathematics. 250,000 buys at 75,000 a piece. For Mikey, where's those EJ pocket watches at? I don't watch pockets, bro. And so does boxing, bro. UFC lies about PPVs, obviously. So does boxing. All of these organizations inflate numbers. You can't say the UFC just because. Yeah, the UFC, the entire organizational structure is much more believable, you know what I'm saying, than what we get over here with boxing. Because you have certain promoters, we've been known to hear that, you know, over there in Matchroom, Eddie Hearns bloviate numbers all the time. So we really can't say, okay, these are solid numbers. We know that to be true. We know the numbers are bloviated. And we know that to be true. We know that to be true. So stop acting like we ain't never heard this shit before. We've heard it all before, bro. I rarely talk about numbers because they're not important to me. But they're only important when Errol Spence's name come up with Terrence Crawford. I shut down the butts in the seats, and this is a perfect example of how someone can fight in their backyard and people act like it's one fighter that was in there fighting. It was fans there for Udenis Ugas. It don't matter how many. It's the fact that they paid to get in. It was fans on the outside looking in that paid for the PPV. It don't matter how many. It's just the fact they purchased the fight. I know it's a salt tablet to swallow with no chaser. I get it. But this is one person I don't sit up here and talk numbers like this. For what? It's irrelevant. It's pointless. I'm just saying I brought this up to 240,000 because it's out. It's a talking point out here. And the talking point should be identified as someone need to cease, halt, limit all the big talk about Spence carrying people with these huge numbers. 240,000 is nothing to brag about, but it's not a failure either. It's nothing to brag about, y'all. Just let these fighters fight. Let them negotiate on their own. Let them come up with the numbers. Let it all work itself out. Because all these conversations about 60, 40, 70, who gives a crap about that? Who cares? At the end of the day, they got to go in the ring and they got to fight. If we're talking about, oh man, we just want this fight to happen, we just want this fight to happen, listen to yourself. If you just want the fight to happen, don't come in here talking those 60, 40, and that's based off the numbers. 240,000 is still based off the numbers because Terrence Crawford is not a PPV shot. He don't put, but who cares? Do you want to see the fight or not? Do you want to see the fight or not? Because to me, it gets a little shaky, cloudy when I hear people say they want to see the fight, but then they jump right back up here and start whining and complaining, saying, oh man, the fight is still a 70-30. What about a 50-50? Oh, no, ain't no 50-50. Why? Errol Spence doing bigger numbers than Terrence Crawford. Oh my God, you don't know shit about boxing. No, if you want to see them fight, speak up the fight. Talk about whatever scenario base you want to come up with. Format it. Talk about it. Create your thumbnails and all this other shit. But man, we have beat, we have stumped, and we have burned this shit down talking about what the percentage should be. Y'all are acting like if a fighter comes in there and the 80% fighter, let's just say 80-20, like Tyson Fury and Dillian White this weekend. Let's just say the 80-20. Is 80% going to power up Tyson Fury to come in there and fight a different style because he's 80%? No, he just understands that he's getting paid the lion's share of the purse. And Dillian White is getting what he's getting. What does that do to a person? Does the fans, once the fight, once the fighters answer the opening bell, did all the fans that get on here and talk about the percentages and everything, are they going to be checking their cash app to say, hey, guess what, y'all? Man, my direct deposit hit. I got my percentage for the fight. It doesn't work like that. It's just a conversation. "12 on deck, what's good?" Aerosexuals ran out of clickbait videos saying Arrow did 500,000 views. He did not do no 500,000 views. That is cap. That is sombrero. That is a snapback. That is a brim. That is everything you want on the top of your head, especially, you know what I'm saying, you feel more comfortable with that shade. You got to get that lid on, shade you from all that sunlight. 500,000 cap. BS. Chicanery. OTB on deck, what's good? That's pocket watching. I'm just going to take it as if I didn't read everything that's at the top. He said, salute Scott the Rock. I used to rock with Scott the Rock, man. I think EJ was the same, if not more, responsible for 240K against Ugas as the 50K was for TC. It doesn't matter what the numbers was for TC or EJ. What you're doing is you're insinuating, Smoke. And you know what insinuations are. They're just as cloudy as smoke. So therefore, there's no way that you can get a definitive sound result that's based off facts, factual numbers. There's no way. So you're doing like everybody else doing. You're just basically saying, you know what? This is my opinion, subjective opinion. This is what I think. And we all know what you said is just like what I said and what everybody else said. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to sit up here and act like, well, 50K from TC and Errol Spence is just as much responsible for the 240. I mean, it sounds good. You put the gap in numbers. It sounds good, but who needs who? Errol Spence needs Terrence Crawford to make this fight. Once again, I repeat. Errol Spence needs Terrence Crawford to make this fight. Once again, I repeat. Errol Spence, in order to fulfill his declaration, needs Terrence Crawford to make this undisputed fight. Now, the only individuals outside of Errol Spence is talking about this and trying to bring the numbers game back in here is YouTube. Because Errol had made it perfectly clear that he was joking about the percentages. So why Smoke is speaking about numbers? Just for conversation. Just for lighthearted conversation. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's a Friday, I'm looking at, Smoke is probably, don't have too much going on at this point in time. He has time to burn. So he say, let me go over here and fuck with WCS and put, numbers up there about Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. It doesn't matter. I don't care, bro. All I'm saying is Errol Spence is on record as saying he was just joking about the numbers. So why? And I say again, and why are you mentioning numbers again when it comes to percentages? And Get This Smoke, what's up with all this talk about much these boxers should get paid? Are you a Spence business associate or something? Damn, did you notice the thumbnail? Any talk about number pocket watching, you can talk boxing, talk business, talk business. I remember two guys making declarations in an empty nester. I'm an empty nester. Well, check this out. Looking at the thumbnail, once again, is based off what's out here, what has been released. And I'm mentioning it because it's a talking point as a result of the fight that just happened. Why is it important to WCS? Because once again, just like Smoke put in here about TC and Errol Spence numbers, I mentioned, since it was a more recent fight that everybody was talking about, that it did 240,000. I say it wasn't a failure, but it wasn't a grandiose numeric achievement either. It wasn't nothing grandiose about this, bro. It's not an ostentatious type of damn 240,000 that people gonna jump on here and yell, kick, and scream. I told you, it's all Errol Spence. Errol Spence. Yeah. 240. No. When you got that two out there in this era, especially when you have his advocates boosting his numbers up, it does nothing to make the fight, because Errol Spence has been on record already as saying that he was just joking. So we need to do ourselves a service, hold ourselves accountable, and not bring up percentages. Now, if you want to talk about these PPV buys, to If you want to talk about the 5 million at the gate, let's talk about the 5 million. Hold on for a second. This is Rick. I appreciate y'all for being patient. Black Belt Ben in the building. Um, y'all silly. I just don't like all the business shit, bro. Uh, it's not about the fans when it comes to that. It comes down to respect and appreciation for all the work that fighters put in to get in that position. Just like any contractor, they want to get paid. Um, I agree with fighters wanting to get paid, and they should get paid. Boxing is a very brutal sport, and at the end of the day, sometimes the punishment is much more um relevant. I mean, not relevant, much more of a reality once the gloves are tied and they're no longer competing. Why? Because they can't even pass a physical, and plus they're damaged goods, so to speak. So they should get paid because if boxing had a president, a single president, and was much more tightly structured, you know, it'd be great to know that these fighters are getting some type of compensation when they hang up the gloves. That's not the case. So being that we are in this loose, open-ended type of sport, we're going to continue to have numbers and people that act like they're on Wall Street. I just got off the phone with Rick Glaser, and he said the numbers didn't even do over 200,000. He said they didn't even do under 200,000. Period. And when it comes down to it, people are gonna try to discount Rick Glaser because they simply don't like him. But the man knows people behind the scenes. I'm not gonna reveal because I did ask him where did he get the numbers from, and he told me. You know what I'm saying? And these numbers 240. I guess 40 looks better than two zeros. You know what I'm saying? If you get my drift, putting a 40 on a 2 looks better than a 00 on a 2 because that makes it look a whole lot worse. But Smoke said the only reason to talk about numbers is to talk about numbers. No matter what we think of the relative report revenue generated between the two fighters by any reasonable metric, we can see that people's certain 60-40 is reasonable justified by this. What is justified, we look at it as just making the fight. I mean, what is the numbers going to do when it comes to paying the fighter? If we want to talk about fairness and the fighter getting paid, well, everybody's going to come up here and speak about what they fighters should get paid. I can go ahead and say, well, I believe Terrence Bud Crawford should get 60 and Errol Spence should get 40 based off what their accomplishments have been, thus far in their career. That's if I was going there based off what their accomplishments have been this far in their career. But then you have people talk about, no, we just talking about what he's done in welterweight because Spence only fought at welterweight. I say, well, does a champion title carry forward? Does it carry forward from division to division? Yes, it does. Okay. Do they call a fighter champ after he's lost his belt? Yes, they do. So that's proof. That's proof that if a fighter win a championship 2 divisions ago, you know what I'm saying? And he's in a totally different division. Him winning, let's just say he won a championship at 130, and he hasn't won a belt at 40. He's still considered a champion. People are gonna say, hey champ, hey champ, hey champ, because he won some type of belt. Now, when it comes to Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, people tend to act like we're just speaking about the welterweight division, and let's just omit the fact on what the credentials say about Terrence Crawford, 3-weight division, and being that he was able to become undisputed in a 4-belt era, a quattro 4-belt era, 4-belt era now, a 4-belt era. So when you talk about who's been making the declaration more than the other, who's been heavier on the seesaw when it comes to this undisputed, it's been Errol Spence. Terrence Crawford already tasted that glory before. Accomplishments are numbers. Accomplishments bring numbers. If a fighter didn't accomplish anything, Smoke, why would the numbers be what they are? If a fighter's never accomplished anything in the sport, how can they build their popularity and notoriety amongst their people and build up their fan base? What did they do special for people to say, oh man, let me start supporting that fight. Let me start following them on IG. So that makes no sense. That makes no sense. Numbers are numbers. Accomplishments are not numbers. So how do you even get the numbers? Just going around here being a good citizen? You know what I'm saying? Following water, walking a straight line, keeping your nose clean, having good sparring sessions. How do you get the numbers? If you're not getting the numbers or building up those numbers off your boxing credentials. I think of anything you said in a while, Smoke. I think of anything you said. That right there has zero substance to it. Numbers are numbers, accomplishments are not numbers. That has zero substance, bro. And I know you're a smart dude. But that is asinine for you to even post that. Because how do a fighter build up numbers? Through popularity and accomplishments. It's dealing with their fighters, their opponents rather, dealing with their opponents and what they've been able to achieve in their career. Because how are you going to continue to say, okay, I'm worth this if you haven't shown any other achievement or advancement in your career to say this is why I'm worth the numbers I'm asking for? I'm saying I'm 500,000 minimal at this point with a single career. I mean, a single division in my career. I'm minimal 500,000. They can say, why? Well, what have you done? Who have you beat? Who have you beat? What have you accomplished? Do you even have any secondary titles to your name? What have you done? We need to come on, prove it to us. Come on, bring the receipts. What have you done? If Teofimo Lopez, when he was sitting up there negotiating the Lomachenko fight, could he have negotiated with the amount of fights he had? Could he have negotiated if he didn't have just one championship title? Because a lot of people are going to say him defeating Richard Coleman, that wasn't that special. Because Richard Coleman didn't defeat nobody special to get the belt. So him defeating Richard Coleman and knocking him, stopping him in 2 rounds, a lot of people say, oh, that wasn't anything special. But if he didn't have that belt, do you think they would have took in consideration him going in there to fight Lomachenko with no belts? And he wanted to ban 2 million. And his only opponent walking in there was Masayoshi Nakatani. Bud did 100K with Porter. Bud and Spence do the same numbers, but Bud get more money per fight, 6 million to be exact. I mean, that's guaranteed money. That's why Bob said he lost enough money to buy a home in Beverly Hills, right? That's what he was talking about. Because if it's broken down to you, if you're not a PPV guy, it's a payout limit that's supposed to be around 1.5 to 2 million. That's if you rate that. It can be somewhere below 1 million. It can be 1 million even, 1.2, 3.5, 2 million. You know what I'm saying? That's non-PPV. PPV is what takes you over the top. So just for the simple fact that Bud was getting that type of money and he did not meet that criteria shows you that you got to consider it to be somewhat intelligent for him to negotiate his worth. When there's a formula to this, it's a formula, people. If you're not a PPV fighter, we're talking about under 1 million, 1 million, above 1 million, below 2 million. If accomplishments are numbers, why are the numbers so poor for TC versus Sean? So poor, given Porter is bigger than Ugas. Accomplishment is numbers, bro. With those accomplishments, we live in a world of human beings. So therefore, people are going to like who they like, and they're going to half-heartedly support who they don't like. So you're trying to use Bud Crawford as the metric to all of this. When Bud Crawford has been known not to want to talk to the media, stay to himself, he's been known for that. He's from Omaha, Nebraska. Who would have the bigger notoriety when it comes to boxing? Texas or Omaha, Nebraska? You know what I'm saying? Who has the bigger boxing footprint? The more popular. When people say, "Oh, the fight going down in Texas," who want to go? Who's been to Omaha, Nebraska? That's bragging about it. What big fights have been in Omaha versus the big fights in Texas? It's not even close. Bud really don't fuck with the media like that. He's gotten a little bit better over time, and he don't care to talk to the media like that. And we have to admit, this fight right here with Spence, this all access with Ugas and everything, that's the most we probably seen Errol Spence in a while. Like the all access shit, man, they was giving him mad lens time. You know what I'm saying? Open workouts, 2 open workouts, all that. I don't even think we seen this much with Danny Garcia when he was stepping in there with Danny Garcia. But like I said before, you can gauge off one fighter who's not even 1% of the boxers in the sport. And you can say Terrence Crawford ain't this, Terrence Crawford ain't that when it comes down to accomplishments. But still, you mention his name because of his accomplishments. He is certified. He's official when it comes to his boxing accomplishments. That's why it's built into a popularity contest, because there's no question Bud meets all the criteria of credentials when it comes to being a star in the sport of boxing. Now, when you link him up with Errol Spence, both of these guys, right at this point in time, they're going to work it out for whatever percentage they want to come up with. But let's not act like we can't do math. Bud has more championships than Errol Spence. Bud has 6 stoppages. He has 2 common opponents of Errol Spence. No matter what it is, when people just want to dilute it and devalue it, it don't matter. He still has those on his record, and he did it better than Errol Spence. Now, if you want to make it a popularity contest, that's always going to be shit that goes on in boxing. Popularity. It's always going to be about popularity. Once again, is people going to Omaha, Nebraska to watch boxing matches? Or are they going to Texas? How big is Texas compared to Omaha, bro? But just to reiterate to y'all, Rick Glaser has mentioned that it didn't do over 200,000. Once again, you can't just sit up here and say he don't know what he's talking about. You can be popular and not have any accomplishments. Lion Ron is a perfect example of being all fluff, no substance. Now, let's just look at what Black Belt said. All right, Ben. Ben said you can be popular with no accomplishments. And listen, that's only going to take you so far. You know what I'm saying? But with accomplishments and titles and everything, what it does, you have more leverage based upon your negotiation process, i.e., Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is not just popular. Canelo Alvarez is collecting belts. So therefore, he has the credentials, he has the achievements, he has the medals to prove that he's been out here doing what he's supposed to do. Once again, Canelo Alvarez contradicts numbers are just numbers. Accomplishments isn't numbers, because his accomplishments have brought him to the forefront of getting the money that he's getting. His accomplishments. He's going up here collecting titles after title after title after title after title. So his leverage in negotiation is a no-brainer, bro. Harris on deck, what's good? 40,000 seats sold, but only grossing 5 million. They trying to trick us with the numbers. Once again, if they place an allocation out there, this is how I can shut all this down, especially with the PBC heavy fighters. I mean, the PBC heavy pundits that's on this YouTube shit. I asked Leonard Ellaby about the seat allocations for Gervonta Davis fight when I was down there. Once again, we're talking about seat allocations. And then they would say it's sold out. We don't know if it was sold out when you got comp tickets out there, bro. You don't know if it's sold out because third parties get a certain percentage of those tickets to do whatever they choose. It sounds good to say it's sold out. But when I asked Leonard Ellaby, what's the seat allocation? He did not answer. Leonard Ellaby, he won't tell you the exact numbers like that. He ain't. Because if you're gonna say the allocations was 7,000, all right, 7,000, and then they get on here saying, okay, it's sold out. Potentially, do we know ticket for ticket that the shit was sold out? Do we know that for a fact? Do we have clear, concise evidence that those seats sold out? So it's always going to be a question mark. It's 2022. Why buy PPV when you can stream it anything for free? That's what I'm saying. Velocity, shout out to Velocity Cuts on deck. That's what I'm saying, man. It's no conclusive. It's nothing conclusive anymore. It's just so many people that get on here and say, "Oh man, I've heard content creators say, man, it's expensive trying to buy all these fights, man. I gotta crack it whenever I can crack it, and this, that, and the other." So they'll get on here talking about numbers, but yet they ain't buying the fights. None of the Bud titles are on the line outside of 147. What does that mean then? What does that mean? What does that mean? So it's impossible for Manny Pacquiao to still make money, being he only had one title. You know what I'm saying? He had one title, right? As of recent that he collected off Keith Thurman, and then he took a long hiatus. They stripped him, and Yordenis Ugas fought for it for the vacant. Everything that Manny Pacquiao did way back when doesn't carry forward to his star power. And when he's at the table negotiating, it does. Why? Because he's an 8-division world champion. He's an 8-division world titleist. Manny Pacquiao titles outside of 47 didn't go anywhere. All the titles he won in 40 didn't go anywhere. All the titles he won 7 divisions ago didn't go anywhere, people. They never went anywhere. That is negotiation leverage for him to use as he continued to build and build and build. Let's say, Terrence Crawford goes in here and he defeats Errol Spence Jr., right? He becomes 2-weight undisputed. And then whatever happens after that, if he chooses to move up to 54, what he just did at 47 is definitely going to have an effect at 54 when it comes to him fighting a champion. Why? Because we've seen champions from lower weight class get preferential treatment from the titles they was holding to jump the line and get that shot in another weight class without doing anything. So once again, that makes no sense that accomplishments don't have anything to do with numbers. It definitely has something to do with it when it comes to the rankings. You know what I'm saying? Teofimo Lopez, he jumped the line. You know what I'm saying? He's moving to 140, and he's about to fight a big name above a lot of other people. It means something one way or the other. It means something. The titles mean something. Ryan Garcia, he's only going to be able to go so far, man, with his popularity. And then you take his popularity and you addition that to his performance grade, and then you do some algebra and trigonometry on that shit and try to come up with a formula on how successful he's truly going to be. Because we're not ranting and raving off his performance with Emmanuel Tago. He may have 8+ million IG followers, but what is that? What is that going to do for him though? When it comes down to it, what is that going to do for Ryan Garcia? It's reported Haney makes $3 million, no PPV, and he isn't overly popular. But Lion Ron is extremely popular on social media and hasn't done a thing. And look, that just goes to show you it's all about how you negotiate. Because Rainey is a non-PPV, but the cap, when you cap the monetary cap, not the telling bullshit cap, but the monetary cap for fighters who's not PPV is under 2 million. It's supposed to be under 2 million. Now, it's not impossible for a fighter to negotiate, that's not a PPV star or a PPV fighter to negotiate over, the 2 million cap. But as promoters and everything, the individuals who's sitting up here negotiating this money, the fighters and the managers, that's the way it is, bro. Some of them are able to, not everybody's able to do what Crawford was able to do, get guarantee money like that. That's a fact. Arrow versus Ugas didn't do over 200K. I mean, I just got off the phone with Rick Glazer. He said it didn't do over 200K, man. The biggest PPV star in boxing right now is a YouTuber with 0 achievements in the game. Andrew Charles, I have to disagree with you on that because no one is really speaking about a YouTuber that, first of all, came in the game with individuals who support him and connections, right? We don't know the real numbers. We don't know the real numbers of what he did. It's easy to just clean that up and level it off at a million views. It's easy to level that off to keep him going because right now, they pushing that dude. They pushing him. But you're talking about a guy who was already popular. Let's take a guy who's not already popular, who went through the structure of boxing. Let's say, did a little amateur and then turned professional. Let's take it for that, for what it's worth. Not a YouTuber who was already popular, a millionaire, and then he's buying himself into the boxing game. He's buying his popularity into the boxing community. So how do you do that? How do you make that happen? You link up with people who are already established in boxing, and you can fight whomever. We really can't sit up here and say Jake Paul is a boxer. He's pretty much fought everyone that weighs 30, 40 pounds less than he does. I don't want to, I can't even sit up here and talk about that seriously. Tyrone Woodley, Jake Paul fighting 190, right? Plus. And then Tyrone Woodley never contended higher than 170 at welterweight. Ben Askren, same thing. Nate Robinson, come on, man. He didn't even have a freaking boxing career. Come on, man. That third-party bond ticket accounts for every major event that sells tickets. So if we are being honest, has or does any event actually sell out? That's what we don't know. Only the insiders and those receive the news. Rick Glazer has deep connections to the insiders, and a lot of what he tell me about the business part of it is an educational process. I don't give a fuck about who says what and how they feel about the guy. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to boxing. I don't have to get on here and make videos every day, but that doesn't mean I can't learn about the sport. I could care less what anyone says and act like Rick Glazer don't know shit about boxing. You go ahead and you believe what you want to believe, and I'll continue to listen and get educated myself. If he's telling me it didn't do 100 over 200K, what is his ulterior motive for downplaying the fight? Because both fighters are black. If that's what y'all gonna say, oh, Rick Glaser, he wanted to dog out the fight because of both fighters are black. No, that can't be it. You have to go off his knowledge, his connections, how long he been a part of with people in the sport. So I don't want to hear none of that shit, bro. Third parties happen. I know it for a fact. I have contacts. I know the shit happens for a fact. I've heard some crazy shit about how third parties, get these certain amount of tickets to sell them to this, that, and the other. Yeah. And people thinking they selling out. Some of these tickets are given away. Ugas didn't inherit Manny's legacy by retiring him. He didn't. No one said he never did. I mean, he never did, but yet and still, he defended his title against Manny Pacquiao, though. Never said he inherited anything. Never. All I was saying is Manny Pacquiao achievements in the eight division he's competed in carry forward. That's why he's called an 8 division world champion. Just because he lost his titles doesn't negate the fact that he earned titles in his career. So we can't say accomplishments don't equal the numbers, because for Manny Pacquiao it did. For Canelo it does. For Floyd it does. I mean, every fighter is different. Every fighter is different at the end of the day. I didn't say anything about Ugas retiring Manny Pacquiao. He was due to retire. Errol Spence wanted to be in that position to be Manny Pacquiao's last fight, but he wasn't able to do it due to the eye injury. So Yordenis Ugas got the shot, and that's what happened. What's good with it, Teach? King Mitch on deck. What it do? I see. That's what it is, people. Accomplishments equals numbers, man. If you haven't, this is another thing to debunk that shit, Smoke. If you on a job and you don't accomplish shit, you just going about your day, each and everything, you ain't doing nothing else, you ain't trying to learn any other jobs or nothing like that, why should they promote you just based off the time and your tenure on your employment? Why are you to be promoted? Why do do employers want you in a higher position? Because of your knowledge base and what you're able to accomplish, your growth. Isn't accomplishments growth? Anything you do in life, isn't that considered growth? So with growth come what? In boxing, it increases your value as a fighter, because you've been able to achieve something more in your boxing career. What do you call a boxer who's just going through the motions and continue to box all the time, and he's doing nothing? He or she is doing nothing special. You call them a journeyman. Now, of course, a journeyman usually have a substantial amount of losses with their wins or whatever the case. But I'm just saying, if they choose to go into the sport and they're not doing anything special, but yet they're trying to command a high dollar, it's not going to fucking happen, people. Shit ain't going to happen. 40,000 people showing up to watch a boxing event is super solid. Selling 250,000 PPVs is also solid. Hey, I said it was solid earlier, bro. I said 240,000 isn't a failure, but it's really nothing to be braggadocious about, in my opinion. And Rick Glace, I believe what he said, that the fight didn't do over 200,000. Velocity say I believe Rick on that because he worked with network attorneys. Well, someone understands. Someone has the velocity, the mental velocity to understand. Moving forward. Let me pin that comment because it has a lot of merit to it. So just read that comment that he put up there, and you'll understand what it is. I thought Spence versus Ugas did 500K. 500K in the mouths of the pundits that's on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, he did. You know, to hear them tell it, he did 700K. They just trying to blackball Spence. You know, it's a freaking a militia out of Omaha that's sitting up here trying to push a movement. Agitators. I don't fucking know, man. 500K. Yeah, right. It's nice to be on deck. What they do? Peace, World Combat Sports, and peace to the chat. Salute to you, my brother. Won't be surprised if Mayweather versus Dangerous Done more do better numbers than Castro versus Charlo. God damn. Velocity, man. I had to say you on the road, bro. Because he's trying to say, damn, Mayweather can go over here and fight a guy who hasn't been in the ring in years. Look, I am not speaking on that, but I will speak on the Castano versus Charlo. Now, we know damn well Castano versus Charlo isn't doing anything crazy. It's just not. And once again, people are gonna say, well, they got accomplishment. Once again, you can have accomplishments, but also you have to gauge on how that fighter is in the eye of his fans. You have some fans that's in Texas that really mess with the Charlos. You have some Mexican fans that really mess with Castano. But you know, when Castano came in there and gave the performance he did against Charlo, if he would have won, if he would have taken the belts, then Castano would have changed levels a little bit, in my opinion. They would say, damn, he went in there and defeated Charlo head up. He gave us that Mexican style, man. Fuck everything else you heard. This is what we want to see in boxing. His career would have changed levels, man. It would have been way more fans coming over there to my Castano. Man, we fuck with you, Castano. But since it was a draw, if he goes in there and have his, able to get his hand raised with Charlo, he's definitely going to earn more fans for real. Now, granted, boxing is a sport of popularity, bro. Just like Destiny said back in the day, we all understand that Errol Spence is one of the most popular niggas ever. We know that. But when it comes to these negotiation process on a fight that we need to see, that 60-40 shit ain't gonna ride. And please don't start bringing it back up, because it's just only thing it's doing is just good for an argument. Y'all gonna brag off 200K PPV buys. You're gonna say, oh, that further. Terrence Crawford, he only did 90. Let me see, 90 subtracted from 200. You know what I'm saying? And then 110. People gonna start goddamn doing bullshit, dog. We don't care. We don't care about the percentages. All we want to know is when you're gonna make the fight. Rick get paid by promoters and is therefore incentivized to undermine the success of fighters not under promotional contract. So once again, Smoke is saying that Rick is paid by the promoters, and also I can dive back into my reflective mental Rolodex and remember when people were saying that Rick Glacier is going to be biased. He's biased towards top ranked fights, right? Okay, he's biased towards top ranked fights. That's what they were saying about Rick Glacier, right? But yet this fight had nothing to do with top rank. This is a PBC event, right? This is a PBC event. So once again, like I said earlier, what ulterior motives does Rick Glacier has to sabotage the numbers of PPVs in this fight? Because somebody can be paid by somebody or work with somebody. That doesn't mean they just going around here putting out false information for fun. Where does it get to a point where they want to be believable? The shit they're talking is absolutely truth. As human beings, we all have some type of bloviated or exaggeration to what we say in life. We all sinners. You know what I'm saying? We all say what we say. But in this particular case, with what you said, Smoke, how does that compare to him speaking about the numbers of PBC? The only one that fans and critics are linking him to is being biased of top ranked fighters, certain fighters that's dealing with top rank because they say he has a relationship with Bob. So how is he now over on PBC and he's just sabotaging everyone like he's the lone marauder? He's a Zorro of motherfucking YouTube. He has his mask on and he's on a motherfucking what's that um damn what's that little he rides in here on a damn what's that thing? I gotta look it up right quick because this is hilarious. A Shetland pony. He rides in here on a Shetland pony, a little short ass Shetland pony with a cape on and a mask. Come on, Smoke. Come on now. How do you know, once again, do you speak and do you know what this man is incentivized? He's incentivized to undermine. How? He's just up here to incentivize the success when he has been. Look, this is another reason what you said is going up in smoke, because how can he be incentivized to undermine success of fighters when he compliment fighters and he say good about certain fighters? Oh, well, he's showing favoritism those fighters that he's complimenting. Which one is it going to be? You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to these numbers, are you going to sit up here and accept the fact that Spence did 40K? And in Rick's voice, he said it didn't do over 200K. What is his ulterior motive to shut it all down? I just want to know. Somebody help me understand. What is Rick Glacier's ulterior motive if he told me it was 200K? The fight didn't do over 200K. Once again, the fight didn't do on over 200K. I know what I have on the screen, but that's from a different source. That's common. That's something we see all the time with the numbers being higher than that. But why are we thinking that this fight did incredible numbers all because of Errol Spence was in the ring? I keep on telling you all, he's only one person and he's not a mega star. He's not a global superstar like that. Now, if he were to continue to fight more times a year, like, I ain't gonna lie, he went over there and defeated Kell Brook. That boosted him up. When he went over there and got that title, a lot of people saying, damn, I respect that shit right there. He went over that man's backyard and got a title. A lot of people wouldn't even want to go over there and face nobody in their own backyard like that. But now, since he went over there and fought Kell Brook, Errol Spence is taking advantage of fighting in his backyard and getting that money and bringing that money to Texas. That's respectable. But what y'all not respecting is the fact that the man is not a global superstar. He ain't doing incredible numbers, dog. He has not advanced since the Mikey Garcia. I'm gonna share a screen right quick. Because y'all have to understand there's two fighters in the ring. And though you might select your favorite fighter, you can't sit up here and say it's Errol Spence all day, every day. Look, look how bloviated these numbers are, right? Hey, check this out. The caveat of what Smoke said. Who does Mike Coffinger work for now? Who does he? He worked for ESPN though, right? Are you saying that he's biased too? They always want to drop the little bird seed to the Tweety and have him put that information out there first. He worked with ESPN now, right? So is he extremely biased to the promotion because PBC ain't with ESPN? Mike Coppinger is. So is he up here fabricating and sabotaging numbers if they're not associated attached with Top Rank? Look, this is what Mike Coppinger put out for Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, because they up here they'd be quick to say, he's doing. Come on, let me share screen right quick, because we live in the world today of zombieism. People see shit, but they don't see shit. They just staring off, and they got their own thought process. Look at this. This is Mike Coppinger. Y'all want to sit up here and talk about Rick Glaser, right? But this is Mike Coppinger back in the Danny Garcia fight. Via bad left hook. All right. Look at this shit. This is his account. Mike Coppinger says sources. The Errol Spence Jr. Danny Garcia welterweight title tilt at PBC on Fox PPV generated in excess of 250,000. They didn't say in excess of 300. They said generated in excess of 250,000 buys at $75, pulling in at least 18,750,000. Spence last two fights exceeded 300K on PPV. PBC last PPV Tank Elliott, generated two. But you get what I'm saying. According to a report, I'm reading from this right here. According to a report from Mike Coppinger of The Athletic, last weekend's big welterweight fight between unified champion Errol Spence and challenger Danny Garcia generated over 250,000 PPV buys. But listen, if you hear his people talk about it, it's just like looking at Sesame Street, bro. Everybody had a hand in their back and they just moving around. 300K, 300K. Mike Coppinger, he said the Danny Garcia and Errol Spence fight did 250. So why are y'all so confused if this fight come up with Ugas Ugas, who has nowhere close to the star power of a Danny Garcia, that they didn't do over 200K? Danny Garcia, he has the name popularity. And they're saying he did over 250,000. They didn't say over 300. They said the last two fights before that, which would be Sean Porter and Mikey Garcia, did over 300K. So is Errol Spence advancing? Is he advancing his numbers for you to say, well, Errol Spence, is he advancing his numbers? I say it's not a failure. A failure would be below 100K, in my opinion. But hearing he didn't do over 200K, what's next? That's all I'm saying. What's next, bro? Seawood on deck, man. I see you. What's good? Salute, brother. See, we'll say get the smoke interested perspective. Ricks get paid by promoters. Look, a lot of insiders get paid by people. Unless you have his personal banking statement, why can't you just be have him considered to be paid for his services, his professional services over extensive period of time of being associated with the sport of boxing? Why does it have to be something that's considered a distraction? He's here to sabotage boxing. Boxing sabotages itself. He's here to be a part of corruption. I don't think he's associated where he can be an influence of corruption. So if his opinion is out there, and as long as he's been around people in the sport and he has contacts like that, why not respect the fact that what Velocity Cuts has put up there? That's all you got to do. Look at what Velocity Cut put up there. That's all you got to do. Cooking with Surf Senior on deck, man. What it do? I be who I be on deck. Salute to you. Still trying to, let me see. Here's another source, right? I love to get more than one source. It says welterweight world titleist Errol Spence Jr. shutout decision over 4 division title holder Mikey Garcia in a meeting of 2 of boxing's pound for pound best. Now, Mike Carpenter said they did over 250, but this article said they generated more than 360K PPV buys. See, I have no problem providing multiple sources. What does it say when you look it up online? Who has the higher PPV? If you're talking about did over 100, 300, look, if it did over 360,000, guess what? It didn't do more. It did not gross more than him and Mikey Garcia. Come on, man. I mean, I'm talking about Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia's did not gross more than Mikey Garcia. Sean Porter did not gross more than Mikey Garcia. We think it to be over what, 375? Sean Porter, they got a little closer than that. And then Danny Garcia, wait, about 3.25. Now we have Udenis Ugas sitting at about 200. I mean, why don't y'all just give it a chance, man? Just give it a chance for these guys to get together and talk it out instead of coming up here making this about 60-40, 60-40. Because the only reason y'all do that is for attention. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can go ahead and stress yourself out about 60-40, man. You can continue to say who put butts in the seats. Terrence Crawford don't do this. He did this at freaking PPV. Guess what? I'm going to tell you a little secret. In order for Errol Spence to fight for undisputed, once again, I repeat, in order for Errol Spence Jr. to fight for undisputed, he has to come see Terrence Bud Crawford, period. So if you believe a guy to get up here and said on Brian Custer that he was just joking around about the percentages, if you think he's not going to try to sit up here and be sensible and make a fair offer, them and PBC, to make this fight that may potentially, it will potentially gross millions. Come on, man. I mean, they're going to make the fight if it's meant to be. PBC is going to do what they need to do to make the fight if it's meant to be. But Errol Spence ain't running shit. Once again, I got to repeat a lot of the shit because I keep hearing the same stuff over and over again. Errol Spence ain't running nothing on this negotiation process. You know who's running that? Al Heyman. Speak to anybody about PBC. Al Heyman runs the show. That's the headquarters commander. In the Marine Corps, he's the commandant. Al Heyman is the motherfucking commandant, y'all. That's what it is. Believe it how you feel. Get it how you feel, bro. That's all I'm saying. Get it how you live. Al Heyman running the show over there. Errol Spence ain't running the show. Charlos ain't running the show. Deontay Wilder wasn't running the show. Al Heyman's running the show over PBC. So when it boils down to them making the fight, it's gonna be about them making a offer, not to piss off Terrence Crawford, so we can get the fight we want. Al want to get paid. The fighters want to get paid. And the team want to get paid. That's how it's going to be. And now I hear people saying, okay, they want to throw Keith Thurman in there. They so concerned about the calendar window of Terrence Crawford being out of the ring. I'm going to tell you, the bullshit about that and why this turned into a reality show is the fact that when it comes to Terrence Bud Crawford, these people are never going to be satisfied. The man went in there and defeated Sean Porter is not satisfied. Do you know damn near under 60 days after he fought Sean Porter, they was talking about, well, Terrence Crawford ain't doing anything. Terrence Crawford ain't doing anything. He just got out of fight camp for Sean Porter now. I just seen this man down here sparring. This man just jumped out of fight camp into the ring to defend his title against Sean Porter. This man, less than 60 days, people are saying he ain't doing shit. He need to find an opponent. He ain't doing shit. When, in fact, Errol Spence has a fight coming up. A fight which people didn't even think he was going to be able to get to the ring, and they didn't even know how he was going to look in the ring. He ended up going in there looking amazing, and now the talk of the town is, well, Terrence Crawford, he ain't doing nothing. Let's do the math. I'm gonna do this on my fingers because it's been a while. I'm much older now, so I'm gonna count since November to now. December 2021, January 2022, February 2022, March 2022, April. So that's 5 months. That's 5 months, y'all. That's 5 months removed. Just 5 months. Just a measly 5 months. Okay, so we go from April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Okay? Let's just throw the Scorpios in there, November. That's 7 months from now, right? So we take 7 months. They want this man to get back in fight camp within 7 months. So we're looking at 8 weeks for a good training camp, just minimum 8 weeks. That's too much, right? 4 weeks in a month, 8 weeks, right? 2 months. So you got 7 motherfucking months. They want him to find an opponent and jump back in fight camp. So, you know, he's been sparring. We just know he just left from over there in NYC. So, you know, boom. He's staying in shape. So let's just say they make the Keith Thurman fight. So we in April, May, June, July. If we make it in July, that's going to be cutting it real close. He would have got 8 weeks, strict 8 weeks to jump back in there in July. All right. He jumps in there. Let's just say it's Keith Thurman. That leaves him to jump back in November with Spence. A total of 4 months, people. 4 freaking months. So he jumps in there and have a fight right now with Keith Thurman. We don't even know the results. We don't know if he's going to face injury. We don't know if he's going to get cut. We don't know how he's going to look. So we get in there in July. This is a 7-month gap. He gets in there in July, face Keith Thurman, recovery. He's going to be looking at a total of 4 months to jump right back in the training camp and train for Errol Spence Jr. Now, does that make any God-given sense? If you have 7 months remaining to the end of the year. I said November, y'all. November. Does that make any sense for him just to appease y'all to have 2 fights this year when Errol Spence just fought? Errol Spencer's recovering, right? And people are so quick to say, hey, he back in the gym. Okay, that's even better. So we look at April. If he back in the gym, obviously he don't need no recovery, right? So it was a one-sided fight, right? May, June, July, August. Okay, August is ample amount of time to get back in the ring, right? August to September. That's 5 months. September is 5 months. That's ample amount of time for both of these fighters to prepare. Or we can have Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence sometime in July, early August. But no way, shape, or form should I be hearing on this YouTube community. Oh, if he jump in there and fight Thurman, he should be good to go for Errol Spence at the end of the year. What if he get an injury, dog? Or the ring rust and everything. Who gives a fuck about ring rust when y'all sitting up here celebrating Errol Spence for being off for 13 months? Y'all been up here celebrating. Oh, he look amazing. What a superhero. He been out for 13 months. He came back. So if he can take 13 months off, why in the hell can Bud Crawford not do the same thing? And it'll be less than a year. If he fights before November, it'll be less than a year, dog. Come on, stop it. Stop it, man. AJ on deck. Who are you speaking about? I missed something. Why do it matter if he's pissed off or not? I'm not sure who you speaking about, but just let me know in the chat. Just let me know who you're speaking about. Okay. Yeah, people was texting me, right? They've been dropping shit on my inbox. And they were saying it was some people on Facebook that was putting out it did over 500K. Now, these individuals no more connected than I am. I'm just linked up to people who are connected. I'm not connected like that. I'm linked up to individuals who are connected. And people, you can say all you want about 500K or whatever. I'm not mad. If you want to get on here and lie about numbers, cool. I'm not vested like that. I'm not losing sleep over these debates. All I'm saying is the numbers that are out right now are saying 200K, 240K, bro. And then let's just say if the numbers was 500K like they talking. The only thing it's going to do for this YouTube community is for people to blast narratives out of a cannon and say that is the reason why he should be 60-40. At the end of the day, it's just all about conversation. That's it, bro. It's all about who want to talk it up. Yeah, if he did 500K with Ugas, oh my God. Terrence Crawford never seen those numbers. But I can tell you one thing Terrence Crawford has seen, y'all. Terrence Crawford has seen championships. That's all I can tell you. Terrence Crawford has seen multiple divisions of championships. I don't know how much more I'm able to articulate that in a sense that, we're talking about simplicity here. Terrence Crawford has seen championships. in multiple divisions. So if you just want to somehow, some way isolate him to the welterweight, the padded room of the welterweight division, good luck with that. Because it's not gonna matter at the end of the day, because Errol Spence said he was joking. So if Errol Spence say he was joking, once again, if Errol Spence say he was joking, why are you all repeating old news? Spence said he was joking. He has to live with that. If he was joking about the 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, the fight is going to be made, y'all. So we need to stop talking about percentages and just start talking about what other narratives we want to bring up about this fight. Where is it going to be? Stylistically, all the little fine points that we tend to trade, verbal jousting on here, on the YouTube community. That's it. Let's just speak about what we know already. Let's just speak about it. Bringing up, Terrence Crawford fought Gamboa and he was on. I mean, that's old ass news, dog. That's funny carnival type shit. Every time they bring up Gamboa's name, especially they want to compare Gamboa now that he was stopped by Esau Cruz. Well, guess what? He was stopped by Gervonta Davis too. Y'all don't want to bring it up then? He was stopped by Gervonta Davis too, yo. They want to talk about how Gamboa had Terrence Crawford on wobbly legs, but yet when it comes down to Terrence Crawford facing him for the undisputed titles, he has to come down that motherfucking road. Errol Spence has to come down that road. Just like Canelo Alvarez had to go see Caleb Plant. And Caleb Plant was paid the biggest payday ever in his professional career. So you think Terrence Crawford is not going to get that shit? Oh, hold up. You got to be predictable on this shit. So you're going to tell me that Terrence Crawford is not a Caleb Plant? How dare you say that? It's no way you're going to say that shit. Because we all know who has more credentials when it comes to Caleb Plant and Terrence Bud Crawford. We all know who's been on the pound for pound list when it comes to Terrence Crawford, Caleb Plant. We already know that shit. So if Caleb Plant can get his highest payday ever, what the fuck you think Bud Crawford's gonna do? And since he's gonna get paid, we're gonna put to bed this 60-40 bullshit. We're gonna lay that shit down to sleep. But hey, that's all I got on this. I've been on here too long anyway. As long as I stay on here, the more emails I'm getting from the Spencerholics. Man, don't you have something to do on the it's Friday, man. Y'all know, assume the timeline, man. Assume this timeline, Spencerholics. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what it brings. This is not the last. It's still a hot grease summer. You know what I'm saying? It's still a hot grease summer. Remember that I told you that. It's still a hot grease summer. Until then, turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.